Have you ever asked why Greenland is named Greenland despite being fully ice? Or did you know there's a country named after a shrimp species? Well, after watching this video, you won't be able to look the world map the same way you once did, and you'll be wondering who gave these people the permission to name these countries. And we start with an easy one, because Greenland just straight up contradicts itself. Greenland is this giant island that's all ice top to bottom, and for some reason they went with Greenland. Like, who came up with that? So the story everyone tells, which I'll warn you is only half true, is that it was done on purpose. Around the year 1982, this Viking, Eric the Red, gets himself kicked out of Iceland for killing a few people. You know, nothing major. He sails off and finds this massive frozen island, but he runs into a problem, which is that nobody is moving to a block of ice. So his solution, according to an old saga, is to just call it Greenland because it sounds nicer. And what do you know? It actually worked. People actually believed his ass, packed up and moved. I can just imagine the reactions of the people who arrived waiting to see some green, magical, and meadowy island, but realized it's just big this cube filled with polar bears. Honestly, respect. I've never lied that well in my life. Okay, but at least lying takes some effort. This next one, nobody was even trying. This is Cameroon, a whole country in West Africa named after shrimp. Back in the 1400s, Portuguese sailors see a river there. They look into the water and the water is just packed with shrimps. And instead of looking at literally anything else, they go, yep, this is the one, and name the river Rio dos Cameros. Rio dos Cameros, which just means river of shrimps. And that little river name slowly spreads out to covering the whole country. Okay, and this next one, somehow they did even worse. Spain, and I genuinely wasn't sure this one was real, and I'm gonna say that it's a theory people still argue about, but Spain might be named after rabbits. The Phoenicians, the sailors who were sailing all over the Mediterranean back then, supposedly land on the Spanish coast, see a bunch of little furry things running around everywhere, and just name the whole place something like Land of the Rabbits. And the strange part is they might not have even known what they were looking at, because one version is they were thinking of an animal from back home called a hyrax, saw the local rabbits, went, oh, those things, and named the whole region off a guess. And nah, this next one I can't, because they got the animal even more wrong. Singapore, this little country in Southeast Asia. Its name comes from the word Singapura, which means Lion City, which sounds amazing and super fitting for one of the richest cities on earth, except lions have never lived in Singapore. Not once. It's just the completely wrong side of the world. So where's the lion? The story goes like this. A prince lands on the island centuries back, sees some big impressive animal, decides it's a lion, and names the place after it. And historians are pretty sure that based on where he actually was, the thing he saw was a tiger. So I just need a second with this prince. My guy, that's a tiger. And because of his little mix-up, there are now lion statues all over the country, including that famous one spitting water into the harbor, the Merlion, which fine, Lion City does go harder than Tiger City. And then this next guy didn't even really mess up, he was just being soft. Venezuela. When European explorers show up on the coast around the year 1500, they find people living in houses that have been built over the water. And apparently it reminded one of them of Venice, you know, the canal city in Italy. So they named the whole place Venezuela, which basically means Little Venice. And then this next one is the complete opposite. This guy did the bare minimum and somehow I kind of respect it. Ecuador is just the Spanish word for equator. That's it. That's the whole thing. The equator runs straight through the country, so when it came time to name the place, they looked at the line on the map and just went, oh, look at that. Equator. Nice, let's go home. Alright, before I get too obnoxious, let me hit you with a few quick ones because some of these have a fun little story but don't really need a whole section. Barbados, and it's the Portuguese sailors again. You know we're up to some dumb again. They show up and the island's covered in fig trees with these long roots hanging down that apparently looked like big beards. So naturally, the Portuguese sailors saw that and just went with Os Barbados, meaning the bearded ones. And Honduras, where the story goes that Columbus was visiting the place but got too scared of the water near the coast and decided to name the place with the Spanish word for depths. So Honduras basically means the deep waters. And Nauru, this tiny island country in the Pacific whose name probably comes from a local word. a naurero that translates to I go to the beach. Okay, and this next one, they just straight up lied, and it might be the biggest lie of all of them. Argentina comes from the Latin word for silver, argentum. So Argentina basically means land of silver, which sounds incredible, except small thing, there was no silver. Early Spanish explorers heard these legends about a whole mountain made of silver somewhere inland, the Sierra de la Plata, and the silver theme worked its way into the name of the whole region, except the silver mountain was basically a myth, and the big payday never actually showed up. Argentina is land of silver the same way I'm a guy who's definitely starting the gym on Monday. Like, it sounds great, but there's nothing behind it. And this next one is where I officially decided I should just be running this whole thing because this is getting out of hand. Canada, the second biggest country on the planet, comes from an Iroquoian word, Kanata, which just means village. In the 1500s, a French explorer named Jacques Cartier is poking around, and some local kids point him toward Kanata, meaning one specific little village nearby, and Cartier, instead of going, oh okay, a village, decides that must be the name of the whole region, writes it down, and the name just keeps spreading outward until it covers a country that's now almost 10 million square kilometers. And that's the part that really gets me, because I would have just asked, do you mean the whole region or just that town over there? And we'd have skipped 1,000 years of confusion. So at that point, I genuinely decided I should just be in charge of this. None of these people were qualified. The job should be mine. And then the last one, and nah, this one doesn't even play by the same rules. Turkey. Because every single name so far has been a place named after a thing, and this one runs the completely opposite direction. You know the bird, the big Thanksgiving one, and basically everyone assumes it's named after the country because it must come from there. And the wild part is the bird is from North America and has nothing to do with Turkey, the country, at all. So how do they share a name? Way back, European merchants were bringing in a different bird, an African one called the guinea fowl, into Europe through traders based in Turkey. So people in places like England just started calling it the turkey bird, basically the bird the Turkish merchants sell. Then Europeans get to the Americas, find this big tasty new bird, decides it looks close enough to that other one, and call it a turkey too. And that name just sticks to the American bird forever. So the country came first. The bird got named after the country by total accident, and the actual bird has nothing to do with the actual country. And it gets even funnier because in a bunch of other languages, the bird is named after India instead. And in Turkey itself, they call it Hindi, like from India. So nobody on earth wants to claim this bird. It's been 500 years and the poor thing still doesn't have a home country. If you had a good time, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one.